Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
Thank you, Count Corla. Taoiseach, every day that we come in here, we're hearing housing, 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 housing. So during the week, the EPA done a report. The EPA done a report on the local authorities on inspections of septic tanks. And they targeted them where they were near rivers, and they done 1,390 reports, the county council done, on the tanks. And they found that 82% of these tanks were inadequate. But we're talking about meeting housing targets here. What the EPA hasn't done has looked at the treatment systems that we've been looking for upgrading for the last number of years, decades actually, for the upgrade of treatment systems that are actually going straight into rivers. Now, I'm in construction all my life, and I'm still in construction. We've given ideas to the likes of Oireachtas how they could actually have more sewerage capacity in towns and villages on the same systems that they have already if they separated the storm water from the sewerage. But all towns and villages and cities, when they're piped from the house out to the main street, they're all gone into one pipe. We gave them an idea of putting in separators for water. At the moment, our treatment systems are actually working at their best during the summer because they're not dealing with water and they're way below capacity. So actually 25 to 30% of our sewer systems are working perfectly during the summer. During the winter, we are now treating 70-odd% water. And what happens is when the sewerage comes with the water and it comes to a level in the treatment system, nothing gets treated because it goes out over the baffle wall and straight into the waterways around Ireland. That's all your rivers, streams and heads all around the country, straight, untreated, because we don't have the proper people dealing with it. Oireachtas to me are a runaway train. They're not value for money, they're not listening to anyone, and there is solutions there for our systems in this country to give us clean water by putting in different systems to deal with the equipment that we have at the moment, and then we can upgrade as we can afford to upgrade. But they're not listening to common sense. They're not listening to other engineers, the technologies there to do what we have to do. And it's very simple what we have to do. But they're coming and telling you this system is broken, this system is broken, this system is broken. They're not listening to an engineering solution to help build more houses with the same systems that we have at the moment, by just separating the water from the sewerage.
Thank you.
That's what I'm asking.
Taoiseach.
First of all, I thank the Deputy in respect of what is a very key issue. And again, you began in terms of septic tanks, largely in terms of existing housing stock across the length and breadth of the country. And it is important that we improve upon that and enhance their capacity, or refurbish or develop, provide grant assistance to enable people to replace septic tanks that are old and not performing to the optimal level. And I mean, there are a lot of engineers in Oireachtas, and a lot of them would argue they know what they're doing. And I have met them, and I think we discussed, for example, one of the critical issues in towns and villages across the country is perhaps to free up capacity to local builders, for example, if they're developing a housing estate, or 20 houses or 50 houses, that they would be able to develop their own treatment facility according to the spec that would be set by Oireachtas, for example, and that would then be subject to inspection. And I think that would help to create additional house building in towns and villages across the country, where currently, because of absence of capacity or no further capacity, such projects cannot get off the ground, and a memorandum of understanding has been designed now, developed between local authorities and between the Oireachtas in respect of that issue, to set out the proposals around that to enable that to happen. And in terms of the issue of the separation stormwater from sewage, I mean, again, I won't profess to say I'm technically as competent as your good self in this area. But likewise, I would say that you mentioned the EPA. All of the work of the Uisce Éireann is subject to compliance with the EPA, and it is one of the regulatory authorities that govern Uisce Éireann, along with the CRU and others as well. But they have made a lot of progress. Of that, there is no doubt. I mean, there's been a dramatic increase in water quality across the Belted country over the last decade or so. Now, local authorities did a lot of that work initially prior to the establishment of Irish Water, and I do think we need to maintain and retain a degree of local competency and local knowledge in our local authorities on water, sewage and so forth. And there needs to be good partnerships between local authorities and Irish Water in that respect. There was just an Arklow recently, and a first-class, state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant provided by Irish Water 6 months ahead of schedule and on budget. And so a lot of progress is happening. I will relay what you were saying to Irish Water. I don't know whether you've engaged with them as a Dáil deputy or with others.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
I note the most favourite word among independent groupings in this House is common sense.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
And
Deputy O'Donoghue.
suggests that maybe you guys have a monopoly of it over everybody else. But I'd say no more than that.
Well, Taoiseach, the first part that you said you've met with Irish Water, maybe you need to bring me with you to teach them a bit of common sense and give them a bit of ideas, solutions. We mentioned there at the start the EPA and the septic tanks. Yes, we have. But the problem with the grant system for the septic tanks, in 2013 you brought in a system where you got 5,000. In 2013 there was a system there that you got €5,000 to upgrade your tank. You registered your tank. If you got qualified for that your tank was defunct, you got the grant. But the problem was nobody qualified for the grant because you had to be tested first. Little amount of people are tested. Now that's up to 12,000. But there's a mapping system now that actually 3/4 of people in this country don't qualify for that either. So you've grants available for defunct tanks, but they can't get the grants. Look at the mapping system that's been introduced by the EPA. I'm asking about equal opportunity for towns and villages, and I'm offering to help the government. I'm not going to criticise, I'm offering to help you. We have tanks in Ula 15 years, Askeaton 46 years waiting to be upgraded for treatment systems. This is what I'm talking about. I'm offering you your help. I'll meet you with Uisce Éireann and we'll go and ask them how we can improve the system.
What are you saying about Askeaton?
46 years waiting for a sewer system.
And that's why I think we have to, like with the best will in the world, if we want to get to 50,000 houses a year, spoken to Uisce Éireann about this, they have a national mapping exercise already. They will have to, and if we give an extra couple of billion to Uisce Éireann over the coming years, they will have to concentrate that spend on the big cities and the big areas of population. So therefore, for smaller villages and towns, we need an alternative system which allows for the provision of sewage treatment plants by the builder, but in accordance with detailed specifications from Irish Water, which is agreed now, right? And that will happen, is my understanding, and that would then, I think, help the Askeatons of this world, the Clough-Jordans of this world, and others who've been waiting for quite some time. But if you're to look at the enormity of the investment required for every village in the country, cannot be done centrally alone by Irish Water. Capacity just doesn't exist to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Taoiseach. And that
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.